All right, welcome back. I am very excited about today's episode. It is a special episode with a good friend of mine, a childhood, really, a friend of mine, David Greaves, which you're going to hear from in just a minute. And he's going to talk about leading with passion. Grab a piece of paper and pen. You're going to get lots of gold nuggets from this one, I'm telling you. So if you like what you hear, and if you are in a company or you know of someone who might want to have David come and speak to their organization or their company, I'm going to put his contact information in the show notes because David is an amazing speaker and an amazing leader. Also, before we get into today's episode, I would be remiss not to mention October the 8th, we are launching the Entrepreneur Growth Academy. If you're not quite where you are in your business, you find yourself stuck doing everything yourself, I invite you to reach out, send me an email. We can have a quick chat and see if this program, this group program is for you. Entrepreneur Growth Academy beginning October the 8th. You don't want to miss it. On with the show. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Marshall Stern, and I've spent over 35 years leading and growing multiple small businesses. I know firsthand the struggles of entrepreneurship. Feeling isolated, lonely, overwhelmed, and feeling like you have to do it all by yourself. I've been through multiple recessions, and I have felt the highs and the lows. I've been there, and I get it. This podcast is here to change that. Every week, I will bring you straight talking advice, real-world strategies, and honest conversations about what it takes to succeed in business without the fluff, the gimmicks, or the sugarcoating. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress, then you are in the right place. This is the Stern Truth. All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Stern Truth, Business Unfiltered. And my friends, I'm really speechless today, but I'm not going to be speechless. I'm just excited because I'm sitting here with a good friend of mine, David Greaves. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm also speechless.
You're
So
speechless.
one of us is going to have to say something.
It'll be a very quiet episode. Um, we've known each other. I would probably say, I was thinking of this the other day, 46, 48 years or something like that.
Well, 12 years old.
12 years old, yeah. Um, I want to hear everything about, I want our listeners to hear everything about you and what you've done because you've been on an amazing journey and reinvented yourself and done like people are going to be blown away for what you have accomplished and what you're doing. But it really all starts where, David? Let's talk about the truth, the stern truth. Where did your visionary and your career begin? Let's talk about the truth.
Okay, well, I was once told by someone that you shouldn't start a sentence with, "I'll be honest," right? Like how else should I be, right? But in this case, I'll be honest because I'm sitting face to face with you, so to speak. The reality is my first experience in the entrepreneurial world was, in fact, working for you in your, I don't even know if there was a name of the business, but it was a lawn cutting business,
Blade Lawn Care.
Blade Lawn Care.
If we
And
can't cut it, nobody can. That was the tagline.
I don't even remember all that. The highlight for me was I got to use the Stern truck even when I wasn't working on weekends, etc. But I worked for you, and I remember honestly remember thinking, this is the way to do it. Find a way to work for yourself, right? If you get the job done in 4 hours, great. You got a couple extra hours to have a Slurpee or something and enjoy the sun. Um, but and there was a sense of freedom, which I often mention to my fiance and to other friends. Like when I walk into a place and I see somebody working in an office, with all due respect, I can't do that. I can't be in one place. I need to be, this is a bad analogy, but they say a shark has to always be moving, and I'm by no means a shark. But if a shark stops swimming, they will die. And I kind of feel like if I was not able to get out to even go for a coffee with a client or just have a short day because I need some other things. My mother's in a nursing home. So I have the freedom to do a lot of things, even though I'm not an entrepreneur right now in the same sense. I run a local office and we're successful and I have the opportunity to go out and meet people. Part of my job
Mhm.
is to be out there. And so I learned that in my not my first job ever, but when I worked for you, remember that feeling, looking forward to going to work because it was something that I was doing on my own schedule. I'm not sure how good an employee I was. I don't know if you recall, but I'll leave that commentary to you. But I loved it. And you were very generous to me, obviously, letting me use the company vehicle throughout the course of that summer. So,
Well, I was just simply like, the stern truth is I was lazy. I didn't want to do it. So I just thought, okay, you take it, you deal with it. There's your cut.
well, you hired the
And
second laziest person you know. And so,
we were a good team. We were a
yeah,
good team. I got to go out to the lake and put my feet up and enjoy the summer.
love it.
There were other personal reasons behind that. But so I wasn't sure. We talked beforehand,
Mhm.
and I want you to explain. I want you to start at the end, not the end. It's just the beginning for us, but where you are now. But then I want us to go back because I think the journey is like absolutely phenomenal, and it's a journey of. I don't want to lead the witness here. What are you doing now? What is your current role?
Well, my current role is I'm the executive director of what will soon be known as the Friends of JNF Canada, which is a new organization. Up until really today, almost, I have been the executive director of JNF Canada. And that I'm a fundraiser. My objective every year is to raise dollars to support infrastructure projects in Israel. And they range from planting trees, which is something that this organization has been around for more than 100 years. And also, we have in recent years, in the last decade or so, built and been involved in building incredible infrastructure, hospital wings, community centers, schools for special needs, and water reservoirs, just anything to do with the infrastructure on the ground to support the people, whether they're whatever background, because Israel is a melting pot, as you know. 2 million Arabs, 7 million Jews, and within that, many Christians and Druze and high faith. So everyone in Israel proper benefits from
Yeah.
the work that JNF does. It's also one of the longest standing non-governmental organizations and one of the founding institutions of the state of, even before the state was around, like 50 years before the state was established. So I run the local office here in Winnipeg, and I also now I'm grateful, and it's kind of how we reconnected again. I now am the executive director as well for Vancouver and the Pacific region. So I find myself in Vancouver every month for a few days doing the same work, but in that locale.
So we're going to pause that for a moment.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Olympics.
Okay. So if I'm going to tell you about the Olympics, I got to start from the beginning.
Please
And
do.
I'll take us there, take us to the Olympics quickly. Um, the short story about the beginning of this program was I was invited to participate in 2002 with two guys that I knew who were looking to establish the Israeli bobsled team. And yes, we've heard it all before, and we've been compared to it many times, the Jamaican bobsled team. My answer to any questions about that is, the world knows about bobsled now only because of the Jamaican, not only because there are parts of the world where this is like the number one sport, but they popularized the sport. And so when other countries, non-traditional winter sports countries, Israel being one of them, wanted to enter the arena, so to speak. It wasn't as odd and awkward as it might have been before the '88 Olympics when the Jamaicans were there, and of course the movie from that, Cool Runnings. Um, so we didn't qualify for the Olympics. Our goal was to make the Olympics in 2006. That was in Torino. But we made it to two world championships, and we really had an incredible journey. Three Jewish North Americans, dual citizens with Israel, competing in Germany and Austria in the World Cup, not knowing what kind of reception we'd get in certain parts of the world with the Israeli flag, et cetera, et cetera. It was really life-changing. It actually changed the trajectory of my life. I was working for Bell Canada, MTS, a local telephone company. I was working in the emerging technologies. And I was out there, you sell something for $100,000, you ring the bell and the office claps. But I was right around the time of Jerry Maguire as well,
Hmm.
the movie Jerry Maguire. And I say that I had my Jerry Maguire moment after I got out of a bobsled. And I thought to myself, I can't work for who I work for anymore. I need to work for the community. I need to work for the Jewish community in particular. And that led me to working for the Jewish Federation, the Jewish Foundation, and then a 5-year stint as a consultant, and now where I am today at JNF. But the journey was incredible. It culminated, again, just to get us to the Olympic Games, it culminated with over the time that I retired before 2006 through to 2018. So about 12 years, I was working with bobsledders and skeleton athletes. And for those of your viewers who don't know, skeleton is on your tummy head first on the same icy track as a bobsled. So if you think bobsled's crazy, the real Michiganers in the speed sports on ice are the guys on skeleton sleds or the women, because we've had women as well
Hmm.
successful in the program. Um, so the dream was to make it to the Olympic Games, and that was always the dream. And finally, in 2018, one of the athletes that I worked with and continue to work with qualified for the Olympic Games in 2018 in South Korea. So, from this guy who sat in the back of a bobsled in 2002, not knowing if we could even make it down the track, as they like to say, shiny side down, on the blades, not upside down, where we spent a lot of time as well, to walking in the opening ceremonies with Team Israel as part of Team Israel with my athlete and others. You talk about some unique journeys that this is something that I'm incredibly proud of. And we've built a very respectable program. It's not just community club here. It's international relations, right? We are working with many other countries, collaborating with,
Hmm.
sharing coaching. It's really become this really special thing that I'm really proud to say I helped create and have really been managing it the last, well, now we're in 2025. So it's been 23 years since I started this.
Wow.
And we have an Olympic Games coming up in a few months where I have a number of athletes that are legitimate contenders in skeleton and bobsled now, uh, and that we hope will qualify.
So I think I have to change my story to one of my first employee is an Olympian. I helped my first employee become an Olympian. That's my story
Well,
now.
I gotta
I gotta.
correct you. You're only an Olympian if you're an athlete who competes. Even if you go as alternate, that's where the term unlikely Olympian came from, because I've been told, who I've worked for, the athletes say, no, I don't care what you say, you're an Olympian. I said, well, you can call me an Olympian, but Olympians get to put OLY after their name. I
Okay.
can't do that, and I respectfully can't do that because I didn't get to the start line. But that doesn't matter to me, right?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you know that I'm not calling myself
Okay.
an Olympian. At best, I'm an unlikely Olympian,
An unlikely Olympian, but you were in the opening ceremonies.
and that was my dream.
And that leads us to, I mean, this is all about a vision, right? Leadership is all about having a vision. And my vision way back in 1985 was to sit at the beach with my feet up and have you take care of the business for me. I achieved that vision. But seriously, where did this, tell me the stern truth now on the road to realizing that vision, achieving that vision. There was must have been some dark times, challenging times.
Um, I don't know if we can get it all in 15, 20 minutes, but I'll give you the short version. I struggled my whole life. People know me as a outgoing, not an introvert, certainly. And I'm still not that, but I do enjoy introverted moments probably more than not. Um, but my father once said something to me when I was either late high school years or early university age years, and I struggled with school. So I struggled in and out with school, all the way back to elementary school. Like undiagnosed, I'm certain that I've had and have still to this day learning disabilities, ADHD, certainly dyslexia, things that were really not as well identified or diagnosed as they are now. So I struggled, and I'm actually angry a little bit about the struggle I had as a kid growing up as a student, because really what I was doing when I was being an idiot in class, or as my mother likes to say, my grade six teacher used to say, he's a wonderful kid, but if he could just run around the schoolyard a couple times before he came into class. Well, that was their solution to things. And, I'm not holding anything against anyone, but I'm angry that I didn't have the resources that my kids have now.
Hmm.
But thank God they have those resources and any kids. And so I struggled. And my father said to me, and not knowing I was struggling, he said, you have really great friends, right? And that, just keep close to the good people in your life. Not that I never dabbled in the dark side of life. I didn't smoke. I didn't do drugs. I had an occasional beer. I don't drink that much at all or ever. But, when I look back at the people, the friends, and their families, my parents split up when I was 13, so that family unit I got from other friends, right? Mom and dad and brothers and sisters sitting around the table or at the cottage. Like I got those experiences, and I guess it motivated me and it inspired me to stay on a good track, even though I didn't know where I was headed, even though I still struggled at times with, um, look at so and so doing this, they're getting these jobs. I didn't have a university education, and so where could I go?
Hmm.
And I really had to carve out a path. Um, and I was embarrassed too. So I didn't necessarily want to say, I need help because I didn't do this and this. I had to find a way to do it myself. And so that was motivation for me. My friends were motivation to me
Hmm.
because most of them got degrees. They went to university, they became lawyers, doctors, pharmaceutical reps, took over businesses, whatever it happens to be. And we're all still very close, and you're part of that circle. Um, but it was through my friends and their families. And my family's wonderful, amazing family, my mom and my dad, and my extended family. It was because I spent more time as we did it growing up with our friends, right? More out of the friend, especially when you were old enough to be living. Now you're not living at home anymore. And if you were lucky enough to have parents that were together, you might go home every Friday night for Shabbat dinner or Friday night dinner. And I didn't have that. And many of us didn't. So it was really looking at my situation and not wanting to be left behind. There's a lyric in a James Taylor tune, which is right near when the song is tailing off, and I think it's Carolina on My Mind. And it's something about "Don't forget me when I'm gone" or something like that. I don't remember, but that's something I heard 40 years ago in my headphones, and I still think about that that lyric, not wanting to be forgotten. Not that I'm trying to make a splash, but I just, my mother's the same way. She wants to be remembered by her grandkids. And I didn't want to be left behind. So had to find ways to get myself out of whatever rut I was in. And that was, self-preservation and all that sort of helped me in my future life as an entrepreneur, as an employee of a large organization, as the president of the Israeli bobsled program. I mean, these are things that, I shouldn't be doing based on the path I chose
Hmm.
from 16 to 25. I should not be doing what I'm doing. And it was because I was motivated. I didn't want to be left behind. And probably most importantly, I was in the wake of some really great people. And that helped motivate me and pull me through. Excuse me.
What comes to mind when you were telling your story was defying the odds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we can go back to high school, I don't know if we did this. I didn't graduate. I switched schools in grade 12. Or we were in different schools for grade 12. I think grade 11 and 12. But if we go back to our high school yearbooks, they have like, I don't know if you did it at Kelvin, like where this person's going to be.
Hmm.
No one was going to say, oh, David Graves is going to be walking the opening ceremonies of the Winter Olympics. He's going to be heading up this huge Jewish organization necessarily. I don't think they would be saying that stuff about me the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I didn't go to university. Oh, I did one semester at University of Manitoba, and that was it.
Yeah.
I remember walking to calculus, and they said if you got less than 70% in grade 12 math, get up and leave. And I got up and left. So my 10 minutes in calculus 101 or whatever. Um, but you created your journey, but it was also with the people around you, from what you're saying, right? Your support system, your family, your
Mhm.
friends. Let's fast forward to what you're doing now. What year did you take over with JNF?
Um, I took over. I took this position in January, like 2 months before COVID, January 2020. And then 2 months later, the world shut down and we moved. I just barely learned the job, and I was working from home as was the rest of the team here, for almost 2 years. A couple false starts when we thought things were getting better, but ultimately it was almost 2 years that we were working from home. I started with the Jewish community. As I said, I had my Jerry Maguire moment when I realized it was community that was inspiring to me. Little teensy tiny pilot light that I always had inside of me, this Jewish flame, so to speak, because I was always proud of my tradition, not religious, but just the people of Israel, a nation, as we call it. Um, but it exploded into like a five-alarm fire as soon as I started to compete and have the Star of David or the flag of Israel on my sled or on my back. That inspired me to say, I gotta leave where I am and I gotta start doing stuff for the community. And so in 2004, after many years of working in the corporate world, um, I got a job at the Jewish Federation and I took a big pay cut and I took all kinds of things and I just chalked it up to finally I'm at school. This is my education, right? I'm 30 something years old, but I found out what I'm passionate about.
Mhm.
And so my pay cut was my contribution to my education.
Right.
So back to what your original question was, I started here January in 2020, January 2020. It'll be 6 years this coming January, which I can't believe. Two of those years, COVID years. And also I've been trusted with another region, right? So I'm grateful to my boss and the leadership of JNF as well to look at me and say, we're really pleased with what you've done in Winnipeg. We've got a hole to fill in Vancouver and the West. Can you help? And so, although I spend most of my time in Winnipeg, and I've got a really great team here and in Vancouver, it allows me to sort of not have to be in Vancouver, more than just a few days a month during the slowish times. And when it picks up a bit, obviously a bit more hours. But yeah, it started in January of 2020. And I worked in my beginning years as a Jewish communal professional for the Jewish Federation. My current boss, the CEO, was the CEO of the Jewish Federation in Calgary. So he and I knew each other from the Jewish Federation world. We worked a bit together on some projects, even though I was Winnipeg and he was Calgary. And when I learned about the opportunity and realized who the CEO was, it was a natural fit.
So before I get to the big question, people might be listening. If they're still listening, hopefully they're still listening.
I hope so.
And they're wondering, well, okay, so I have a business. What does this have to do with me? what does this whole talk have to do with me? And I probably should have said that at the beginning. And I might say that in the pre-intro because I want
Mhm.
people to listen through this. And I want people to maybe go back and listen to this again or watch this again. Because within everything, your journey, with how you explained your journey, and even my comment about defying the odds, because it's not defying the odds of what really. So I take back the yearbook comment because it's defying the odds of what we thought of ourselves,
Right.
right? The doubts that you had in your
Right.
early 20s or coming out of high school.
Yeah.
So it's the defying the odds that you put on yourself.
Mhm.
That's where it all comes down to. So for business owners who are in it right now and are struggling to make it, you can make it if you have a vision, you surround yourself with the right team, and you do the work,
Yeah.
and you're passionate about what you do. And that's everything that I've heard, everything you've said to this point. It comes down to, and correct me if I'm wrong or add to it, please, passion, teamwork, vision, and leadership.
So I wrote down 5 words before we started: passion, leadership, family, respect, and team. So 3 of the things you just mentioned
Yeah.
are on the list. I learned this about myself early on working for the community was, and I'm a fundraiser, and not everyone likes to ask people for money. And one of the things that I did, and we talked about the education I got, becoming a professional in the community, was what does the community like? What are we funding, right? And as soon as I understood that there are people in our community, and these are communities all over North America, I mean, Jewish communities or other communities too, but with respect to the Jewish community, there's a support system in place, and it's in place through the organization that I started my career at, which was the Jewish Federation. And what I mean by that is the money that's raised, primarily, some of it goes to Israel, but primarily it's to support the local Jewish infrastructure, whether it's child and family, whether it's the day schools, whether it's summer camp, whether it's the JCC community center. Um, and when I learned sitting through that initial process, it's called the allocations process, where all the agencies once a year come and make their pitch for their budget, what they hope to get from the Jewish community from their annual fundraising. And I had no idea the amount of um, impact that the community had on my life.
Mm.
Just listening to all these different institutions when I realized I wouldn't have gone to Hebrew school, my brother and I, if my family wasn't able to get a subsidy. I wouldn't have been able to go to summer camp if my family couldn't get a subsidy. And there's 2 sides to that. It's one, my parents had to really ask for it, which isn't an easy thing to do, but the community made it easy. And the other side of it was I didn't learn about this until so much later in life. So to passion, back to that first point. Once I learned how I benefited from the community, and that my job is now to raise funds for these same organizations to help other families, like the family I came from, it became easy,
Mhm.
right? Became easy for me to ask someone for $1, $10,000, $100,000, whatever the number happened to be, and everything in between, because I understood the impact that it was going to have. And that was the biggest revelation for me. And it was early on when I started working with the community. And I said, if you have a challenge asking a friend for $1, you're not asking that friend for the dollar. And this is fundraising, but this relates to any business owner. What is it? What's the service that you provide? Don't think about it as a job, but think about it as the impact that
Mhm.
you're going to have on someone else, whether it's changing a tire, -40 in Winnipeg. That guy who's coming to do that, I pay for that, but that guy who's coming to do that, he's changing my life at that moment,
Mhm.
right? And if we look at all these little moments and understand that it doesn't matter what we do for a living, that the work that we do, whether we're a support staff, whether we're an executive director, whether we're a fundraiser, whether we're a receptionist, you're doing something that is going to have hopefully a positive impact on the people that are receiving that service. And that then leads to leadership. I had this quote in my brain yesterday. I've learned more about how not to be as a boss from my previous bosses than how to be, right? I've made mental notes after seeing and hearing or being treated a certain way by a boss or seeing somebody being someone else being treated a certain way and said, I'll never be like that, right? So there's an empathy component in the leadership as well. And I want my team, and I never call them my staff when I'm thanking them at an event or whatever. They're my colleagues, they're Jewish community professionals. They're not my staff. They don't make my bed, they don't make my dinner, they don't clean my apartment or my condo or whatever. They are professionals and we are colleagues. So that just they like coming to work because we are, and here's the other piece, we're family. And if you run, you can't always do this depending on the size of your business. And someone might be listening to this and saying, this guy doesn't speak to me at all. I don't know what the heck he's saying. But what I was lacking in my life, just from way back in the early days, was family, was just that family feeling. I've often said I hate long weekends because that's one day more away from the
Yeah.
office and the people I love to work with. And it may sound pathetic, but I like being in the office. I like being with my colleagues. I like, especially over COVID, those weekly Zooms were like, especially, um, it was contact to the outside world. It was family. And then just as I said, respect, and I've just sort of alluded to that in that everyone I work with is my colleague. And if you respect people, and I hear people treat their employees horrendously. And if you're not going to respect the people that work for you, your colleagues, your team, then how do you expect to be respected? And I'm not perfect. I've made many mistakes in my life, and I will live with those mistakes. But I am on a constant journey to be better, better for my family, for my kids, for my team that I work with, for the people in Israel that I build projects for, and for my friends, so that they know they can count on me as a friend as well. It sounds kind of hokey and Pollyannish, and but that's how I've lived my life. I've lived my life visioning sunshine. Even on cloudy days, I've envisioned sunshine, and that has a physical, chemical
Yeah.
reaction to me that I feel.
Okay. So this is going to be a little bit longer of a podcast. We're just going to take a few more minutes, people. So just hang in there
I
because
got all day, Mark. I got all day.
um, but you said something. You said even during those cloudy days.
Hmm.
So October 7th
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
And the Jewish community, well, on October 7th, the world was in shock and in mourning. October 8th, it was different. I'm not getting into the whole politics and all of that.
Hmm.
But you are now a leader of an extremely important organization. How did you, over the past, and everything that's happened over the past 2 years, continue to get up every day and to lead this organization? I'll leave it at that. That's my question.
Well, in order to lead, you have to be in the right space. You have to be in the right mind. And I don't think there's anyone in the Jewish world. I guess there are some maybe who don't feel as I do or as we do, but um, there isn't anyone that I know that I interact with that uh, wasn't impacted in such a way that you're no longer right-minded, right? A lot of October 7th was in the southern part of Israel where I have worked with my team and our donors for a number of years to build some really important schools and community centers for youth in Sderot, which is one of the largest cities in the south, like literally on the fence with Gaza. Um, and I've been there a couple times since, and we've talked with the mayor and other people in the community. It's hard to believe what they experienced.
Mhm.
And so again, I'll be honest because, people are not always so forthcoming for right reasons and obvious reasons about their mental health. But um, I had to seek help because, and I was just talking to someone today and almost every day, that every time I turn on my phone, I see another snippet, another memory, another reminder of what happened. Um, and as the leader of an organization whose primary objective is to build Israel, and then you see Israel burning, so to speak, and literally too. It's been very difficult. I've reached out to Jewish Child and Family Service. It's JCF Family Services. There's a Jewish version of that. They
Mhm.
service the whole community, but there's a large predominant constituency that's Jewish. And I offered to our board, our local board. Some of us are Israelis on my board. Some of us have had more direct impact by October 7th. I wanted to first offer whatever I could um, to help people find a lifeline if they needed it, right? And that made me feel better. It got me sort of climbing back out of the hole,
Mhm.
knowing that there is a community here that is prepared to help us if we need it. Certainly, we weren't impacted as directly as those that suffered, but if you're human and if you work in the region, you need to be right-minded in order to persevere. If you're angry and if you're resentful and if you're vengeful, those are all negative emotions and components to our personality that if you get veered off the track, and that's why I reached out for my own personal health, is I wanted to make sure I don't know how much I can handle. Like, when does the switch get flicked and I become someone I don't recognize anymore, emotionally, mental health wise? So I wanted to make sure I had, I hate to say the word like this, but I'm only using it for my own context. I wanted to make sure I had training wheels on
Yeah.
because I didn't know if I was going to be able to take and continue to take what I'm feeling, how I'm hurting, how my community is hurting, how my friends are hurting. I didn't know how many times over and over something else is going to remind me, and then I'm going to tip over on the bike. So I wanted to make sure I had the training wheels in place to help me lead, to continue to lead, and lots of dialogue.
So again, for those listening, we're talking about a horrible event and what's happened since in the world and to a nation and to the people of the nation
And the Western world as
and the
well.
Well, yeah, and that's for another episode.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
that might get a little political though.
Yeah.
Um, but we're not talking about that. I want people who are listening to this to really think about it, everything you've heard today and how this could apply to you in your life. Because as business owners and entrepreneurs, we're constantly having to navigate and lead. And a lot of us forget about that. There's going to be turmoil. There's going to be in our businesses or in our personal lives. Look, within David, like within 18 months, I lost my sister and my mother.
Yeah.
I still had a family to raise. I still had two businesses to run. I was still involved. Now I'm year 10 on the board of directors of a nonprofit organization. And I still had responsibilities. I had to navigate, I had to lead through that, through those
Mhm.
difficult times. And we all do. Some are obviously more or bigger, but each of them for ourselves are our own and they're big for us. So if you are going through these dark times in your business or your life, there is help out there, right? I hope this episode's helping a little bit because maybe there's the optimist in me there, but I truly believe this because I've been through the ups and downs in my businesses, in life, personally, family, over the years. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Some tunnels are a little bit longer. Some lights might seem dimmer. But again, going back to everything David said, if you surround yourself around community, a team, if you just lead with passion and you remember the vision and you remember, here's the one big thing, because for you, David, and I'm talking way too much, and you could have, some people, October 7th happened, all this stuff could have become overwhelming to you. You had the, emotional, how it hit you, like all of us. You could have easily said, I can't do this, but you didn't. You made a choice.
Well, yes, and there were moments when I was overwhelmed. And everything that you just said, whether it's your business or your personal life, certainly if you're a leader of a business, your personal life plays a big role into how you operate, right? It's impossible for it not to. You have a fight at home, you come to work, who knows what kind of mood you're going to be in or how you might interact with the staff or a colleague or a customer. And just to what you said as well, training wheels. And for a lack of a better word, I use that word. But that also means, even just today, I had to do something that came up. And I asked my 2IC, who I rely heavily on in the office, I said, can you handle this one? Can you just take this off my plate? You got to be able to sometimes step back,
Mhm.
right? And ask for help. And that's a tough thing to do, especially if you're a leader, right? If you're seen as the leader and you're the boss of an organization or a business, you're the one who's supposed to be giving the help and the guidance. So it's a little bit backwards in some cases when you as the leader is asking for help. But that's just the way it's supposed to be. You need to have training wheels and family. And whether you have family, however your family is made up of, I have made sure that my colleagues are family, my athletes are family. And so when I'm, desperate for an outlet, um, I have a few places I can go. And everyone has that. I really believe it. There are people that are alone in the world and maybe don't see it. Um, and maybe that's part of the challenge is finding your training wheels, finding your
Mhm.
psychiatrist, your therapist, your good friend, someone who you know has gone through hardships as well to help guide you. And goes back to what my father said, surround yourself. It was prophetic because it was in
Yeah.
my early 20s. And that's how I've survived.
Yeah.
I've survived by surrounding myself with great people and by
Yeah.
not being afraid to ask for help. And I think that's one of the key elements of leadership is being able to ask for help. Surround yourself with a team that can help you get to the end goal, that can help you get to your Olympic Games, that can help you walk through those doors and behind your nation's flag, even though you're not going to be at the start line, even though you're not the athlete, your team will help you get to the opening ceremonies and to bring it full circle to that experience I had.
Yeah.
None of that would have happened if I was doing it by myself.
I love that. And I thank you for that. For me to bring it full circle as we close out this episode, I asked for help back in 1985, 43 freaking years ago. I asked for help. No, but seriously, because not many people know this. I asked for help from my good friend David because, and you don't know, you probably don't know this part. Okay. And I kind of joked about it at the beginning. So I had a lawn business. I was doing some stuff at the lake, and I was at the time, and I was doing some stuff. Most of it was in the city. Every time I'd go to the lake, my aunt was there, who was dying of cancer. And my mom was about to get married and move to Calgary and everything. And no one was there during the week. And I felt bad leaving. And I wanted to spend one last summer with her. And I didn't really know at the time. I just lost the passion of the business and I needed a break. I knew I needed to be somewhere. I needed to be there. So I needed help. So I reached out to my good friend David as the good leader that I was, asking for help on my team. And you took over, and I was able to spend, the remaining whatever 6 months before she passed a few months later
Yeah,
with her every single day.
yeah.
So I thank you. I thank you for that because you took care of my clients and the reviews. We didn't have Google reviews back then. If we did, they would have been, yeah, like
Well,
David's the
you
best.
provided something that I needed as well. So it
Yeah,
was mutually beneficial. And I didn't know that story about, and I know who your aunt was, and she was wonderful. And to know that I was able to help you do what you wanted to do at that time in her life too,
yeah.
makes me, I'm going to put you back on, if I ever need to get another job, I'm going to put that as my first job on my
There you go.
resume.
I'll give you a good reference. You showed up on time. No, you were great. Thank you for sharing your stories, your journey with us. And what I always ask this of my audience, and I really want you guys to just not just share this, because there's someone out there who needs to hear this. but comment. And more than that, more than subscribe, like, share, and all that stuff. Oh, the share is very important because I want the message out there about leadership. I want you to take some time and write down 1 or 2 gold nuggets. My late father used to say, if you could, and I always say this in the podcast, if you can go to, back then there was none of this. There's like seminars or book. If you could read a book or listen to a cassette tape, or go to a seminar, just take 1 gold nugget from that. It's been worth your time, your money that you've invested. And so I'd be curious as to what your golden nugget, you, the listener, one, just give me 1 at least, golden nugget. And send it, email to Marshall at marshallstern.net, or just comment in the YouTube video or the podcast if you can find it there. And I'd love to hear the feedback. And David, I'm sure would love to hear the feedback too.
Sure, I'd love it as well. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you so much.
It's over? Oh no.
It's over. You said, I don't know if I could talk more than 15 minutes. Well, we did. Might have to have you back one of these days to continue the talk.
Absolutely.
But thank you. Appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. You guys, I will see you again next week on another episode of The Stern Truth Business Unfiltered. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Stern Truth. If you found today's episode helpful, we would love to hear from you. Please like, share, and leave us a review. Also, if you'd like to be a guest in an upcoming episode or join us in one of our Momentum Accountability Group sessions, simply email me to marshall@marshallstern.net. That's marshallstern.net. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep pushing forward and leading with confidence.